I am Yvette Crawford. I'm an Austinite, born and raised in Austin. Lived here all of my life for 63, almost 64 years. I grew up in East Austin, went to the schools here, was blessed to raise my children in the house that I grew up in, and left Austin to go to college at Texas Tech University and got a degree in telecommunications, which is radio and television, and not knowing that I would be coming back to live in Austin, so here I am. My occupation is I work at Austin Community College, the Highland campus and campus administration, and I've been with ACC for 7 years. I grew up on 21 or at 2103 Stafford, which is on the corner of Rogers and Stafford and across the street from Campbell Elementary School. It was very nice. I mean, we knew majority of the neighbors. I knew a lot of the residents who lived on this street because I have friends who lived on the street. Went to school with them. My godparents lived on Maple Street and had friends on Maple Street as well. It was basically we knew I knew almost everyone in the community because that's just the way it was at the time. It was close-knit. We knew everyone. If there were functions, we'd always see them at the different functions in the city on this side of town. It was a nice community. It's hard to find that because a lot of people that are in Austin now are not native Austinites. They've moved here to raise a family, to get a job here. So it's totally different. It's not the same, unfortunately. I mean, I knew everyone. If I didn't go to school with them, I knew the parents. My parents knew their parents. Like I said, it was a close-knit community. We knew everyone because we all lived on this side of I-35, east of I-35, and it was nice. But now it's totally different. I mean, now we're all spread out throughout the city. And unfortunately, I had to make the decision to sell my parents' house in 2012 because of gentrification. And then the property taxes on my parents' house was $10,000 for 1 year, and there was just no way that I could afford that. And driving here today to do this interview, it was very hard for me to come back to this neighborhood because it's just totally not the same. Entire East Austin has changed tremendously, and it hurts. It really hurts. But I still do go to church over here. I'm a member of Holy Cross Catholic Church, and it's on East 11th Street, but it's just the surroundings in East Austin is just totally different. It's not the same. More white businesses popping up, more Anglos living here who are truly now the residents of East Austin. There's hardly any of us, any African Americans living in East Austin anymore because of affordability. With the investors coming in and purchasing homes of, say, for example, if I had friends whose parents passed away, my friends lived in another state or city, they had no reason to come back to Austin. If they had sold that home, then that investor would probably gut out that house, probably use the backyard if it was large enough to build another house behind it. And that's what was the main cause of reason behind the property taxes increasing. And it was affordability. My people could no longer afford to live here. And I often wonder, those who are retired, who are on a pension, how are they able to stay afloat and pay their property taxes? And I just don't see how it is. So basically, African Americans and Hispanics are being moved further east to Pflugerville, Hutto, and to Manor in order to suffice. And it hurts. It hurts. I hate that it happened. But I read that it was something that was kind of like predetermined in the 1927, 1930s by the city council. This is what they were going to do because African Americans used to have businesses on East 6th Street. which is now where everyone parties. I used to go down 60 when I was younger, but we had businesses down there. There were African Americans who lived where Act 35 is, but they decided to come and cut through where we lived to make that the interstate. And so when we were shifted over here from Clarksville and those areas in West Austin, we made this our community. We built it up for us, and it just seems like everything has been taken away. Majority of the black churches have moved further east, and it's just not the same anymore at all. No, I didn't have any family. Both of my parents were not from Austin. My father moved here to go to UT Law School. He was one of the first 7 to be admitted to attend the University of Texas Law School. And so once he graduated, he married my mom, and then they moved here, and then they had me and started the family. So, you know, I'm glad you asked me that, because my father passed away in 1996. And see, my parents are from Texarkana. My dad from the Texas side of Texarkana, my mom from the Arkansas side of Texarkana. And my mom had passed away before my dad. And when my dad passed away, I had someone from the Austin American Statesman to call me. Well, you know, sorry to hear about your father being lost, but with his accomplishment, what does that mean to you? And I said, well, he was just my dad. You know, please understand that when he accomplished those things, I was just a little girl. I mean, I wasn't born when he graduated from the University of Texas, but she was talking about his appointment as being appointed by Wagner Carr, who was the Texas Attorney General, I think in 1962, 1963. He was appointed as the first African American to be appointed to serve in the state of Texas. He was the Assistant Attorney General for Texas, and he dealt with federal issues. So he had to go to DC a lot to do that, and that was like a stepping stone, basically for African Americans at the time. And then he later left there and went into practice law with Virgil Lott, who was also one of the 7 who attended the University of Texas, and they had a law office on East 7th Street. And while my father was practicing law, he had a father of Dana, Gene Smith, who had graduated from Anderson High School, which is the only black high school here in Austin because due to segregation. She had applied to attend, which is now Southwest Texas State University, to do her studies and education. And the president of that college basically wrote her back and told her, based on the bylaws of the school, we cannot admit any Negroes to this college. So Ms. Smith's father hired my father to take the case, and my father sued Texas State University. And I believe in 1963, 1964, the judge decided that she had every right to be admitted to Texas State University. So basically that opened doors for people of color to enter that school. And I believe there were 3 other students who went ahead and signed up to enroll at Texas State that afternoon. So I mean, I'm proud of my father for his accomplishments, what he did, because hey, that's how I was able to go to college. You know, you have to understand back then, my parents, to get their undergraduate work, they had to go to historically black universities because we could not go to white universities. So he opened some doors, and a lot of people probably don't know about it, but you know, he was like a hidden figure that helped to open doors for others to accomplish their dreams. You know, my mother's mother, my grandmother, she was a cook for a rich white family in Texarkana. So my thing is they probably didn't want to be doing those jobs where you didn't have to go get an education, you just get it, but then what would you have accomplished in life? They wanted to better themselves, better educate themselves so they could raise a family that would be educated. And see, my mother was a elementary music teacher here in Austin. So you know, with me being the firstborn, I had to set the example and do good in school and accomplish those dreams for my parents. But when I was a senior in high school, I didn't want to go to college, but I dared not tell my parents that because, you know, here they were, they had been educated and everything. But I'm glad that I went because I went and got my bachelor's degree. And so it's, I mean, for us, for minorities, it was not a requirement, but it would help to better our lives. We could get better paying jobs by having that degree. Having your degree, having your master's, or having your doctorate, you know, one of the two. Let's see, I moved here, my parents moved here, I believe in 65 or 66. A friend of my father's designed the house. And we moved here and went to elementary school, which is the old L.L. Campbell, which is now Garza High School. And my mom would drop my brother and I off, and then we would walk home. And then my father's mother, my paternal grandmother, she lived with us, so it was nice to just go home. She'd be there waiting on us, you know, to get home. It was nice. It was, like I said, it was a close-knit. I knew most of my teachers. Knew the principals. I met my best friend there in first grade. We're still best friends. She still lives here in Austin. And some of my friends that I went to elementary school, I went with some, but the majority of them we were separated due to the boundaries. They went to O. Henry Middle School, and then I went to Lamar Middle School. One thing I have to say, when I went to elementary school, it was a black school. Majority of the teachers were black. I had several teachers which were white, but the principals were always black. And then I guess probably my parents had probably fought with AISD to where we could not be separate but equal, be integrated into the white schools. And then that happened when I went to 7th grade to middle school. And that was something completely different because I was not used to being around white students and having the majority of my teachers being white. The experience was, it in a way was scary because we didn't know how they were going to react. I mean, we were bused from the east side to North Austin. We were on the bus with the Hispanics that lived in the neighborhood, and I had several friends that were, you know, I was friends with. It was different. I mean, but we were treated fairly, you know. I'm not going to say that there was any racism. I don't remember anything. It was fair. It was fair. And then I just learned to make the adjustment, you know, going on to high school. I was supposed to have gone to McCallum High School, but they built the new Anderson High School off of Mesa because they had closed the old Anderson High School. And then I had Mr. Akins was my principal. Charles Akins, because he has Akins High School is named after him. He was my principal. And I had, in the office, I knew a lot of the staff in the office because my parents knew them. And it was fine. It was fine. I didn't do that much extracurricular activities because I was more like a bookworm. You know, my parents always said, you know, you need to study, keep up your grades, and all of that. And then I finally tried out for drill team when I was a freshman to do when I was a sophomore. I got cut, I didn't make it. But it gave me the motivation to try out again, to prepare and stretch and everything. And I was in drill team for my junior and senior year, and it was fine. But it was fair. I didn't see any or feel any racism or anything. We just learned to make that adjustment, you know, in high school. But then it prepared me to go to Texas Tech University because I wanted to go to University of Houston or to Xavier in New Orleans. My mother said University of Houston was a party school, Texas State was a party school. And I think what it was, my mother wanted me to go to a school that was far away, but not too far, but within the state of Texas, where I could learn to be independent. And I applied at Texas Tech University, and that's where I went and came home with my degree. Well, let me see. My parents were in organizations. I later found out that my father was with Sigma Pi Phi fraternity, which is a black organization just for men. But it's an organization that is made for men who have professional positions or occupations. And because I saw a letter where he had submitted to them to resign from being a member of that organization. My mother was the one that was more active in the organization. She was in the sorority of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. She was very active in that. She was a member of Top Ladies, because my brother and I were part of Top Teens, which is for, of course, Top Teens. We were part of Jack and Jill of America, which is an organization that is all across the country, the same as Top Teens and Top Ladies. My mother was a part of the Links, and my father was a Link because my mother was in the Links, and I had the opportunity to become a member. I think I had to be before I was 55 or something, but I never did do that because I'm not in an organization just like my mom was or my parents. But we had that, and we were able to be with our friends and go on conferences, go to meetings. We did things where we would go visit the nursing homes and visit the elderly, because that was a service project. So it basically taught me as an individual growing up of giving back to the community that I was brought up in, basically. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to have my children in it when they were growing up, because now they're adults. But that's what they did. They did things that were in the community. They were active in the church here, giving back, because it's a way of bettering themselves, bettering the community, and passing the torch on to my brother and to I, to keep up that work that is continuous. We need to keep it up in order to keep the community going. Well, with me, I didn't go to church when I went to college, but when I came home, I had to go to church. Here I was a young adult, but, and I think I even volunteered to teach Sunday school in church, but not really. I mean, my mother had us enrolled in vocation Bible school during the summers, my brother and I, and that was a week long, summer school camp to go to. But no, maybe my brother sneaked out, but I didn't. I was trying to be the good kid and not get in trouble, because he got in trouble a lot. But I want to say being involved in the church was part of the community, being part what the organizations that she was involved in was being part of the community. Whenever we would have meetings or anything, it would always be it's not like it is now where they would rent a suite or a room at a venue or anything. It would always be in one of the members' homes. They would be the one that would have the meetings there. And I'm pretty sure that it's changed now, the way that they do that. But that was her involvement with that. And, my mom was a perfect angel. She would do so much. She was so caring, because I don't know how she did it, but she was also the organist for the choir at our church, as well as teaching and being involved with the different organizations that she was involved in. Well, because Pat and I are cousins by marriage, but to Pat, that about the Marshalls, General Marshall and LaVon Marshall, who live up the street off of Gibbons, I went to school with their children, and their daughter Karen, who was the middle child, she and I were in drill team together at Anderson. And then we were in organizations together as well. So I had friends, Terry Curry across the street from where I lived. She was on drill team with me too. And, we would go to each other's houses and play, and not play because we were not at that age, but just do things together, go to the movies. And then I had Tanya Norwood, who lived around the corner from me. She was on drill team with me in high school, and we're still friends today. So, but like Karen and Terry, they've moved to the Dallas area. And like I said, a lot of people have moved a lot. We had a lot of distinguished professionals that lived in this community. Like you had John Taylor King, who lives right across the street, who was a good friend of my dad. He and my dad were also in the Army Reserve. So I think they were in the same unit or not, but they would always go to the meetings together if they had to go. Like every summer, they would have to go out of town for a week to go to a camp at a different base. So they would always travel together. You had the Marshalls, who both worked at Houston-Tillotson University. You had Mr. Snell, who was a city, he wasn't a constable, commissioner, Travis County commissioner. I went to school with his children. You had Miss Kirk. Her son, Ron Kirk, was, I think, the first African-American appointed to be the Secretary of State for Texas. And then he went on to be the mayor for Dallas. And he has a law office in Dallas that he works at now. And that's all that I can think of. I mean, there were a lot of African Americans who lived in this community that were accomplished. They had kind of like surpassed, they had made stepping stones, I'll put it that way, in our community, which means they opened doors for us, for my generation, and then for your generation and my children's generation, to the point that, you know, the sky's the limit. You can still pursue what you want to do. Don't let anything stop you or deter you from becoming what you want to become in life. And that gave us motivation that we could accomplish those things. No, I haven't. For this neighborhood, I haven't been in this neighborhood, like I said, since 2012, so no. But that, I mean, that's good, because it needs to be acknowledged of the individuals who lived in this community when it was the way it was when it was first developed, of all of the individuals who were accomplished professionals that opened the doors and made some type of significance in the Black community. That needs to be acknowledged. Definitely, because it's history. And we don't want that history to be hidden from others to learn and know about them. Because if no one tells the story, who's going to know? But he had it personally made. I mean, back then, when you look at it, you know, Black architects, you didn't hear about that in the 60s. I mean, that was kind of like obsolete, you know, with that. But, because I remember it was Doyle and Freeman was the name of the architecture firm that built or designed the house for my parents. Well, when I think of it, I've known Wilhelmina Delco. You know, she's well known all over Austin, you know, being the first to serve as Board of Trustees for AISD and serve in the Texas as a representative in the Capitol here in Austin. I remember she was running for office, and I think it was for the AISD Board of Trustee office. And so part of the service project, because it's for Jack and Jill Incorporated, we had to go out and pass out flyers, vote for Delco, vote for Delco. And at the time, there used to be a battery called Delco batteries, which I think it's obsolete. I don't think it exists anymore. And I remember people saying, like, Delco battery, right, Delco battery, you know. So we helped out to kind of like pass out the flyers, trying to get, you know, to get more people to go and vote for her. And I remember it was down, I believe, on Congress Street. We did that one Saturday, and that was a community service thing to do. And I remember I went to high school with Lawrence Hancock, which is Burl Hancock. I think he was the first African American to be to serve as a city council member for Austin. And Lawrence was my escort, I think, for a debutante ball. He almost passed out on me because he was on, I think, yeah. Lawrence was over 6 feet tall. Here I am, I'm 5'3", and he was leaning like, oh my gosh, if you fall, I'm gonna go down with you. But those are, you know, good memories and everything. But like I said, we're, you know, small community. We may not have lived in the same subdivision or whatever, but the organizations that our parents had us in, that's how we got to know those individuals. Because you have to think back in those days, there was nothing that we could do outside of our community because we weren't able to be, our parents weren't able to be a part of white organizations. So we had to create our own organizations for our community, for our families, in order to strengthen the community. And where we could still provide service, community service, community outreach for our community. So, but you can see how things have changed, but that's the way that it was at the time. Didn't visit the Harlem Theater. My best friend, Charlotte Anderson, her father owned the Gulf service station right across the street. And I believe that he was the first one to own a service station, being African American. And then I believe she told me too that he was an ambulance driver at night as well. You know, here I was learning things about her, but she's my best friend. But you know, our parents were very active in our community. And I do remember going to visit her because he would have her working in the office, like taking the money for, you know, people pumping the gas and things like that at the time. I would always, as usual, college students, you always try to hook up with your friends you went to high school with, because my children did the same thing, where I would hang out with them more so than being at home. It was different. It was good to see them, because most of them went to school outside of Austin, and trying to catch up what's, been going on. But now, since we all live in different cities and everything, we don't keep in contact with each other or anything. So that's kind of like a rare thing, to see them. Only time I may see my friends that I grew up with is, unfortunately, if it's a funeral or something like that. Or if it's a high school class reunion or something. I would say it's probably very expensive to live here. I mean, it's getting to the point it's becoming expensive to live in Austin, period. I don't care what part of the city that you live in, it's just becoming very expensive to live in Austin. To the point that I think a lot of people are probably going to start, if they have not yet, are going to start moving out of Austin in order to be able to live comfortably. I'd like for it to be remembered as a vibrant community which had families who were well educated, who had accomplishments and goals which helped to open a lot of doors for people of color, regardless if you're African American or Hispanic, Latino. A neighborhood that was well kept, very well established, and was part of the community of East Austin. Even though it has changed through the years, it needs to be remembered as a very remarkable and outstanding community in Austin, and let it not be forgotten that it did once exist.